What's up? We're going to go with the flow because I'm always hot, the airflow of heating and air. My first internship was with Ready Industries. I had 3 internships. I changed 2 of them out for one throughout the semester. My first one was with Ready. Picture of Ready out there. It's right next to Kellogg. You go on Kellogg, take the exit onto Oliver and Edgemore. The years of experience they've had is since 1969, so pretty well known throughout the state of Wichita. They have about 100 plus employees, and they buy out different companies. So past they didn't have heating and air, they didn't have fencing, stuff like that. One thing that they don't have is sheetrocking company. That's one thing they don't have, and they're wanting to get that. That's a picture of an old unit. Doesn't make sense to most people, but this one is just like from an old house. We had a pretty chill day, and so we took it apart. My mentor showed me everything there was on it, how to take it apart, put it back on. This is a motor that you put onto it. He had me take it off and put everything back the way it was, because a lot of people mess that up and they have to get a callback, which is just a waste of money on the company's part, because usually sometimes they don't charge the customer for a callback, because if they didn't do it right the first time, then they need to do it right the second time. This was a crane pick. If you don't know what that is, it's on top of the building. Instead of like a unit inside the house or on the ground on the outside of the house. So what they do is they call a crane company. They come in and they pick up the old unit off the top of the building and set it on the ground. They bring up the new one. So this is the new one, nice and clean, hardly any rust. You take off all these panels, wire it back up, get it back up and running. The old one, it wasn't working quite right, so it's always fun to go on those, because at that time you're with a lot of people instead of by yourself doing the job. There's my mentor, Kenneth Beatty. He's a WSU teacher there, and so it was really great to have him as my mentor. He had a lot of great things to say. He always walked me through things, got my hands dirty on stuff. So I was actually able to do some stuff with him watching over me, so I didn't mess up. I was always afraid to jump in because I don't want to mess things up, because then they have to get a call back, and that's just rude on my part. And then my second internship was with Becker Brothers. There in the main street, on the main street of Garden Plain. They started back in 1959, so a little bit longer than Ready. And they have 20 plus employees. They got bought out by Tom Mossinger here a couple years past. So it was really good to have them. It was a little bit of a difference between a bigger company to a smaller company, even though they had been there longer, but it doesn't matter how long you've been there. As long as you do the job right, you get the job right done. And then, so this is a diagram of all of the things that I will be doing down in Oklahoma. At OSUIT. It's just a wiring diagram, super confusing until you know like what you're doing, and you just like the light bulbs here kind of resemble an old unit or a unit, wiring it up and getting to work. So like the top one would be like the cooling, the middle one would be the whole machine, and like the bottom one would be the heating, for instance. I don't think that's the way it was run up by, but like the control panel in your house, and then you can adjust it from there. That was another crane pick, so I actually got to do a crane pick with all the internships I did, which was a lot of fun. Made it easier for me to do something when I was there, because I actually had been through it. So that was in East Wichita. It was very cold. It was snowing. Past day was probably about 90 degrees. It is Kansas. As you can see, up here on the top of the crane is a flag. We're near a airport, and so they had to have a flag for safety reasons. Even though it's not that high, you just have to be careful with the planes and everything so that they can see it. They always did like different new houses. So I went to a new house and they had me cover up the units that go through the wall because they don't want any dust to get in there. Because then when they start up the system, it'll just mess things up. That's just another picture of the crane pick. Also, don't stand under those things because they can fall. Highly unlikely, but they can kill you. That's like my mentor, main person like sending me places with different people. That's Tom Wassinger. And my other mentor that he sent me with, I wasn't able to get a picture with him, but Dayton, he was a really good mentor. He had been out of college a couple of years, but he had learned so much on the job, and he was just kind of running me through things and like what school will entail and everything. So I had really good mentors from Ready to Becker to 5-Star. 5-Star was my third company that I switched out between the two. There's a big difference between a residential company into a commercial company. The main difference is just bigger machines. It's the same concept, same everything, just bigger machines and bigger parts, more expensive. So a lot of people could say that you can tell how which person they are, residential or commercial, by the way they walk. Because residential is just trying to get to the next job, and commercials want to take. Residential is trying to take go fast. They're trying to take their time doing it right, but they go through it and they get the job done right. But commercial, they take their time because they don't want to spend all that money on a messed up part. They started back in 2005, pretty newer company, but they've branched out. Really great company, great atmosphere in the workplace. They have 100+ employees now. They do a lot from Textron to Cessna, so really big buildings. They have, Cessna has like the East Campus, the West Campus, and it's just absolutely humongous. So that was really cool to see. This is actually at Cessna. It's not a heating and air unit, it's a vacuum pump. It's actually pretty cool because the vacuum pressure comes out and down to like the basement part, and it goes to a table, and they mold things from the table, so like parts of the plane. So the vacuum like pulls it down into the mold, which was pretty cool. This motor, we fixed that up. It was just getting old, a lot of hours, a lot of time. This is just a heat pump at the West YMCA. It was a new one, they just put it in. So at that job, we were just kind of sitting there waiting for it to run back up and get going with everything. This is probably, these next two slides are probably the best day of my internship out of all the three. It was just really cool. Not saying that I didn't have good days at the other companies, but this is at the New York Life building out in Wichita. Big building, old building. Used to be old apartments, old hotel, but then that got abandoned. It was like a really nice hotel, high end. They had, at the top floor, they had the people who owned the building, stuff like that. It was just really cool. And as you can see here, this is an old boiler, and that I don't think that's running anymore. And this is the new one. They just put this one in a couple years back. It's 2 boilers, and so they just heat the whole building for water and such. They did have 2 of those up there, but they took the one down because it wasn't working right. So they didn't want it to cause any other problems. This is an old chiller. I don't think that one's running anymore either. This is a new one. It's pretty cool to see because like just how times have changed and like the technology. It is just great to see because like you never know how like technology can change because it's already coming to where you can control everything on your phone. So that's just everything chills like the water and such. That is the mentor I went with, Eric Davis. This is a blower motor. In residential, you can hold this in your hand. This, they built around it. It's so big that they just have to build around it. It is heavy though in your hands, but this one you can't even hold. Like it's next to you and you're not even halfway up. This picture on the right here doesn't do it justice. That is 9 floors of a building, straight down. That is return air. So you see these like little boxes here. That is air from every floor going into it and coming back up, and it's just running its cycle. If you were to fall down there, that's a long climb up. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you're crazy enough to do it, go ahead, by all means. These were my mentors. Craig, he was at the shop, so whenever a job was too far out for me or I couldn't go into it, like Textron, you have to have a badge for that to be able to go into it. And so I just went with Craig, did stuff around the shop, took some stuff, brought some stuff to Cessna, stuff like that. Eric Davis, wasn't able to get a picture with him, but I did have a picture with him from the previous picture. But he was a really good mentor that day at New York Life Building. It was just a really tall building. He knew a lot about it. The old hotel is stripped, no walls. You could see where all the walls used to be, which was really cool. Like they had when they abandoned it, all the furniture was there, all the walls were there, but they had a water leak and nobody was up there for like a couple weeks or something like that. And so it ruined everything, and mold was growing everywhere, so they just trashed everything. Plans after school, I do plan to graduate from Mandale. Just don't know why not. But I do plan to attend to Oklahoma State University, Institute of Technology. I've heard they had a pretty good heating and air program. After that, just get into the workforce as fast as I can, make some money, and just plan to retire as soon as I can to be able to live out my life somewhere on the beach. Skills I acquired, learning the basics, just learning the basics of heating and air, all the units and stuff like that, how they work. All heating and air is taking heat and transferring it to another place, because you can't really just take out heat from another place and get rid of it. So that's all it is just taking heat out. Time management, you have to have the time management to get to the job done and get it done right. That way you don't have to come back and drive back, say 30 minutes to a job site, and then come back and then, hey, we need to get you back here to fix it right. Responsibility, just what it comes into it, fixing everything, being responsible for yourself, cleaning up after yourself. Reliability, people gotta be able to rely on you to fix their stuff without having to call you back to get it done right. That's when sometimes they just call other people. It's just to get the job done right so that they don't have to mess with you anymore, I guess. I just do want to thank Mrs. Burkamp, thank the school board, thank Mrs. Shack, Mr. Stanhope for allowing me to do this. It's a great experience to be able to go through this. I highly recommend it. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I would rather be on the job than sitting in a classroom going over a Pythagorean theorem, which I could use someday, but just a general rule of thumb, just like get to work and have that experience and be able to get in that schedule of like waking up every morning, get to the job and have a good attitude, be nice to everybody, even though you're tired. That is one thing that is main. Wake up, have a great attitude, come to work with a great attitude, and treat people right. That's one of the main things to go with in the job site. Just want to thank everybody else, with my parents, for spending the money on gas to get to all the job sites, all the internships. Yeah, thank you.